the psychology of self-discipline. You know, every single morning, millions of people make these quiet, hopeful promises to themselves in the dark. Tomorrow, I'm going to wake up earlier. Tomorrow, I'll finally hit the gym. Tomorrow, I'm going to stop procrastinating and actually work on those goals I've been dreaming about for months, or, let's be honest, maybe even years. But then, tomorrow actually arrives. Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into a deeply personal, frankly kind of unnerving psychological mystery. Because beneath every single success story, beneath every massive personal transformation, there's this hidden, vastly misunderstood force. We are going to completely deconstruct the hidden psychology of self-discipline.
It's such a universal, incredibly relatable lie, isn't it? The alarm rings, you've got the whole plan mapped out in your head, and the goal? It's still deeply important to you, but the action just never comes. Comfort wins, distraction wins, delay wins again. So you really have to ask yourself, why does the human mind so fiercely resist the exact actions that could profoundly improve our lives? Why are we always promising tomorrow?
Well, this right here is the absolute core of our mystery. It's called the intention-action gap. Now, for decades, society has framed this struggle as a moral failing, right? We just call it laziness. We say it's a lack of willpower. But here's the thing, it isn't. It's actually a fascinating behavioral mystery. It's this weird quirk where our desire for immediate comfort just consistently steamrolls our most important long-term goals. So why do some people consistently follow through and cross this gap, while the rest of us get trapped in this endless loop of good intentions with zero action?
To actually bridge that gap, we first need to put a name to the invisible enemy. Almost all of us have felt this, right? That strange, heavy reluctance that suddenly creeps in right before you have to do some important work. We call it resistance. Simply put, it's your mind's deliberate avoidance of any activity that causes temporary emotional discomfort. And honestly, what's truly unsettling about resistance is just how incredibly well it disguises itself as logic. It whispers to you that you just need more time, you need more preparation. You're just waiting for the absolute perfect moment to start. But beneath all those super rational sounding excuses, it's just fear. It's uncertainty. It's the absolute dread of feeling emotionally uncomfortable.
Section 1. Your ancient brain, the biological saboteur.
So to really get a grip on why you struggle with discipline, you have to take a hard look at the hardware you're actually running on. What you call laziness is literally ancient survival software running in the completely wrong era. You are operating a brain that was built for a world that simply doesn't exist anymore. Think about it. For most of human history, survival depended entirely on conserving energy. Finding food was a huge uncertainty, and deadly danger was literally everywhere. So your brain evolved to intensely seek out immediate rewards and avoid absolutely any unnecessary effort. Back then, that wasn't a flaw. It was a brilliant biological advantage that kept your ancestors alive. But modern life, it operates by totally different rules. Modern success demands the exact opposite: delayed rewards, expending sustained effort, and taking consistent action over months or even years. So you're walking around with this ancient programming that actively, aggressively prefers comfort right this second over a massive reward down the line. Imagine being handed a choice right now. You can have a small reward today or a much, much larger reward 6 months from now. Logically, of course, the larger reward makes total sense. But emotionally, immediate gratification just completely towers over the future. And that's because, historically speaking, the future was entirely unpredictable. But the present was real. It was right in front of you. So because of that biological wiring, we constantly sacrifice massive long-term outcomes for a quick hit of short-term satisfaction, usually without even realizing we're doing it. Which brings us to Section 2, the modern attention trap, a weaponized environment. Escaping discomfort has literally never been easier. We are navigating an environment right now that actively, systematically exploits those evolutionary vulnerabilities we just talked about. Think about what surrounds us: infinite entertainment, instant communication, constant stimulation, endless convenience. At any given second of your day, the slight emotional friction of doing hard work can be instantly erased. Just click a video, check a notification, open a game. Boom, discomfort gone. There are entire multi-billion-dollar industries built from the ground up with one single goal: keeping you endlessly engaged and perfectly comfortable.
Discipline today involves more than resisting laziness. It involves resisting systems specifically designed to capture focus. Let that sink in for a second. In our modern world, pure focus is rapidly becoming a fiercely scarce resource. True discipline isn't just about forcing yourself to do chores anymore. It's actually an essential critical defense mechanism against an entire economy that is built on distracting you.
Section 3. The motivation myth. The unreliable engine. See, most people are totally convinced the answer is just finding more motivation. But let's look at the reality of this trap. We've all been here. On day one, you hear a powerful speech or you watch an inspiring video. Excitement is sky high, and this huge burst of energy fuels your progress. You're killing it. But then, day 14 rolls around. That motivation naturally drops off. And by day 30, the action stops entirely. You're right back where you started. Why? Because motivation is fundamentally just an emotion, and emotions fluctuate wildly. If success depended purely on feeling motivated, literally no one would ever achieve anything long-term.
The people who are highly disciplined rarely, if ever, rely on motivation alone. They understand a cold, incredibly fundamental truth. Feelings are totally unreliable. Systems are not. This is a massive pivot. It's the moment you stop relying on the chaotic, unpredictable emotions of human nature, and you start leaning entirely on the reliable, cold mechanics of actual achievement.
Section 4. The architecture of habit. Designing behavior. Okay, so once you stop obsessing over how you feel on any given day, you can actually start building something permanent. We transition from constantly fighting ourselves to consciously designing automated behaviors. Here's the practical progression of how true discipline is actually built. Step 1. Expect the resistance. Seriously, just know that the emotional discomfort is coming and accept it as a totally normal part of the process. Step 2. Build the system. Your goal is no longer to brutally force yourself to act every single day. Your goal is to build simple routines that make taking action easier. And then step 3. Rely on repetition. Because as you'll see, this is where the real magic happens.
At first, yes, discipline is absolutely exhausting. Taking a new action requires conscious control, which consumes roughly 80% of your mental energy. It feels heavy. But with repetition, something genuinely remarkable happens in your neurology. The brain actually creates physical shortcuts. What once required this massive, draining effort slowly becomes an automatic habit. And when that happens, the energy requirement drops to just 20%. Over time, discipline stops being this daily cage match with yourself. Instead, it becomes about relying on these deep, wired behavioral shortcuts you've built. And our final section, the ultimate freedom, emotional evolution. A lot of people imagine discipline as this cold, rigid cage, right? They picture just relentless willpower and this miserable, endless self-control. But in reality, it's something entirely different. It's the quiet, invisible power of compounding consistency. A single workout, it changes practically nothing, but hundreds of workouts, that forges a complete physical transformation. One study session might seem totally insignificant on a Tuesday night, but years of learning, that entirely evolves a career. Discipline's immense power only really becomes visible in the rearview mirror, quietly shaping your future while you just put one foot in front of the other. We also absolutely have to look at where the world is heading right now. We are rapidly entering an artificial intelligence future. Technology is accelerating, massive automation is upending industries, and information is endlessly abundant. In a world where distraction is quite literally limitless, just having technical knowledge isn't going to cut it anymore. The human being who can actually control their attention, who can learn consistently, and who can sustain effort over long periods, that person is going to possess an extraordinary, almost unfair advantage. When you really get down to it, discipline is ultimately the art of controlling your attention over time. So true discipline absolutely does not mean becoming some sort of emotionless machine. Not at all. It means acting despite that heavy psychological resistance. It means prioritizing long-term value over short-term weaponized comfort. It means putting one foot in front of the other, even when motivation has completely evaporated. And honestly, most importantly, it means honoring your commitments to yourself. It's about building an identity, not as someone who just constantly talks about their goals, but as someone who simply, quietly follows through. Self-discipline exists right there, living in that tiny gap between knowing what to do and actually doing it. But as we wrap up this explainer, another really profound psychological question immediately rears its head. If discipline is the thing that determines what we ultimately become, why do some people continue growing and expanding while others remain permanently trapped in their comfort zone? Because right beneath discipline lies another hidden force, a deeply ingrained mindset that dictates whether we view difficulty as a terrifying threat or as an extraordinary opportunity for transformation. And well, that is a psychological mystery for our next explainer.